What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Kai Jukebox. I'm your host, Kaiju, and as you might have noticed, we have a little bit of a hardware upgrade going on right now, courtesy of my older brother, who is allowing me to use some of his equipment that he no longer is using. I don't know if this is something that I'm going to purchase from him or if I'm going to get my own equipment, but you should notice things are a little bit more high quality compared to when I was just recording on my phone. Of course, I only have a handful of videos out, but I might as well be doing some more editing. I'm trying to learn DaVinci Resolve right now. It's an editing software that I'm not super familiar with, but I want to move off of it, move off of my old one onto this one since DaVinci's more open source and on the free side. I don't want to have to be continuing to pay for Filmora, which is what I was using before. But with all that out of the way, let's jump into our main topic today. We are talking about Doom, the Dark Ages, which is a brand new entry in the reboot franchise that is Doom. Of course, back in the day, you had Doom 1 and 2 in the 90s, and then on the original Xbox, Doom 3 came along. But then in 2016, they did a full reboot of the franchise. Now, 2016 and then the sequel, Eternal, are two of my favorite games of all time. I'm not a huge shooter fan. I don't really like things that are super tactical, but Doom has this sort of run and gun style. It's all brute. It's less tacticality. Is that even a word? I don't care. But Doom has always sort of stuck out as a shooter that I can really get behind. I like it being sort of needlessly violent against these demonic creatures. I like seeing the different forms the demons come in. I like the world building too. I think that the Doomslayer is a super cool character. You can't see it, but down below I have a PC case that has like the glass front on it, and I have a Doomslayer figure from Eternal with his little knife on his arm and then the shotgun as well, hanging out right there because I love this franchise so much. And I've even got, it's not, I was looking to see if it was on the shelf back there, but it's not. But I have a Super Nintendo copy of the original Doom and also a Game Boy Advance copy. I'll show them off on another video. I might do my Doom collection similar to how I did the Monster Hunter one. But anyways, all that out of the way, I'm a big fan, and so I was waiting for them to announce the next game because Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, from what I understand, were very successful, especially having released on the Switch even, which is actually where I originally played both of them. If you've seen my Monster Hunter video that talked about how I was mainly a Nintendo guy until Monster Hunter World came around, I actually ended up playing Doom 2016 and Eternal on the Nintendo Switch. All that aside, though, they have announced a new entry in the franchise. I'm a little late to the party. This trailer is from last month when Xbox had their showcase. This is one of the first things that they showed off, and I had a feeling we were going to see it because it was 4 years between Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, which came out in 2020. Now it's been 4 more years since that, almost 4.5 now, and we're going to be getting this game next year. Next year is starting to look very stacked. Hoping to see Monster Hunter Wilds, again a franchise I love, hopefully a new Nintendo console and whatever games come alongside that, and Doom the Dark Ages. Now, I wasn't sure what kind of route they were going to take coming off of Eternal, which really had some of the most like grand scale fights and settings that we have seen, it being on Earth, investigating these more medieval style castles. They really started to expand from being outside of just a space station on Mars or this basic sort of washed out version of hell that they've created. Now, I actually like 2016 more than Eternal. I think it's because I played it first. I'm not entirely sure. Something about it just feels more up my alley. But I think Eternal's the better game, ultimately. And so it seems like they're continuing that forward as far as more settings, with this being a prequel, actually. And to me, it looks like parts of it is taking place on Earth. I have some screenshots pulled up here that I'll overlay, and some footage as well. But we get to see more of sort of that castle-y medieval goodness that I loved from Eternal. I really like some of the set pieces they have there. We get to see the super shotgun in all its glory, which it's really funny that they're taking more of like a fantasy style with this, with the enemies being sort of decked out with more of like a Viking, super hairy pelts and like big belts and all. Oh, hey, that rhymed. Things of that nature. They have like the Viking horn helmets, that type of thing. Yet we have guns, and they are taking those guns and making them fit the vibe perfectly. The shotgun looks awesome with its intricate little details. They're giving the Doomslayer a dang shield. He's got a shield that has saw blades all around it. Going Captain America, gonna throw that thing across the way and slice some demon heads off. And we also see something that I've seen a lot of raving about online, which is this gun that crushes up the skulls of the Slayer's enemies and shoots them out as like little bits. I'll pull up a screenshot or something and overlay it, because it's you just got to see it if you haven't seen the trailer, which I assume most of you guys have, but I just want to give some of my feedback on it. Even the Fat Boys, which I could see in the screenshot, the Fat Boys are looking sort of ancient, looking kind of medieval style. And I love the architecture on the castles here. It looks so good. They really, id Software really does have, at least the team that we have now. I'm not speaking about the old games here, which are fantastic, but new id definitely has an eye for scenery, even with the old Doom 2016 sort of only having like the two settings. They still have a lot of scenery. And we can see like mountains and more foresty settings, which I really like. That was something I hoped we'd get more with Eternal, since it's on Earth, but it's more, Eternal was more set in like the cities. But with this, it seems like we're kind of going into the wild. Even the Doom Slayer himself has like spikes on his shoulder pads and like a big cape pelt on his back, and the helmet's got like these little spikes on the top here. He's looking, and it looks more like the Praetor suit from 2016, which I like, which is makes the canon, the canon in my head makes sense, where he's got that medieval vibe going. And I'm not exactly sure the story here, but I think we're gonna see the Slayer's journey to being put asleep in 2016, because this is really a full-blown prequel. And if you play them chronologically, I think it's going to feel weird to go from the Dark Ages looking like it's going to have a lot more to do as far as combat goes, because Eternal's combat is a lot more intricate than 2016's is. If you're going to play them chronologically, you're going to be super intricate combat, sort of just run and gun, and then Eternal's pretty intricate combat as well, having particular weapons to hit particular weak spots on the enemies, whereas Doom 2016 is kind of like any gun will do damage to any zombie or demon, or I guess they call them the possessed, whatever. But jumping back to the trailer that we got to see here, we got to see a enormous segment in which the Doomslayer is going to get his very own mech suit, which in Eternal they sort of teased this with some of the scenery having these giant robot creatures off in the distance, like they were in a major war together. And I always wish that we'd get a segment like this, because it's just awesome. They've got this big sort of like Pacific Rim style shot where but instead of it being like in a modern setting, he's in like a cathedral, because obviously Doomslayer's from church, because the demons are from hell, and so I just hope that this mech sequences that we might experience in the game are not forced. I find that a lot of mech sequences in games can be that way, where it kind of just feels like they tacked it on, and it doesn't really make sense within the context of the game. But I have a feeling it's going to do something really cool as far as these segments in which we're in the mech. But in addition to that, we also see one final little detail that I think everybody is latching on to, which is the dragon, which I didn't really think of this as a dragon at first, because it doesn't really have proper wings. It's got like wings that are in the style of the sword that you get in Eternal, but it's some sort of creature, some sort of dragon looking creature that's got technology, sort of like a cyberpunk-esque hybrid of the futuristic technology the demons have and this dragon. And it looks like we're going to be able to either control it or ride it. I'm not entirely sure, but he's got guns. He's got like that Viking helmet style. And so overall, this game, they barely showed anything. There's barely any information. No official date, just that it's coming out next year. But it looks like it's dropping into Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you can try it out. It's going to be on Steam. It's going to be on PS5, which is good because I'm glad that Xbox, this being sort of like a flagship Xbox release now, they're not going to be stealing it away from the PlayStation users, because everybody should have the opportunity to play Doom. It's a great franchise. Even the logo that they're using now has sort of this old rustic style, this medieval style logo, and I think that's super cool. So we'll see what they do with it. That's going to be all for today, guys. Signing off.